Let's talk about two important things today. We are going to talk about forming a creative habit and also setting goals. These are the things that are going to get us over the finish line for our Handmade Holiday Challenge. If we put these in place now, they're going to make everything much, much easier. We want to form a creative habit. We all know in general, being creative has so many health benefits. Knitting and crocheting, spending time with our yarn, the stress relief of it all. But you know what else? So does having less stress at holidays. And that's why we're all here, because we want to be able to enjoy our time with our loved ones and not finish our projects on the way to visit the family. So we're going to take the time now and we're going to form a creative habit. That can mean different things for different people, but the general idea of setting goals for yourself, giving yourself, of course, some grace if you don't get to do it every single day or things come up in life. We have to be kind to ourselves, but I also know that a running streak of something is so motivating for me. So for those of you maybe who play Wordle or any of the other variations of that game, I bet that you do too. I bet it is encouraging and motivating to see how many days in a row you've been successful. I've seen a lot of different research. It can take anywhere from 18 days to 254 days. That's a lot of days there for a person to form a new habit. But really, it's an average probably of around months, or they say 66 days for it to become automatic. We're going to get those things in place and then we're going to celebrate as we go. Make it an intentional part of your life. And that's what we're doing here in the challenge. We're making this all more intentional, and that is going to help us through. I wanted to also talk a little bit about setting goals. What I'd like you to do in the comments is let us know what your goals are that you're going to set. Setting the goals and sticking with them is what's going to help us to get our gifts done before the holidays. There's something called SMART goals, and I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but let me know in the comments if you have. If the concept is new to you, SMART is a framework that you can use to set meaningful targets in your own personal life or your professional life. And there are some variations I've seen, looking more into this online, but for our purposes, for this challenge, this is an acronym where each letter stands for something else. So SMART, being specific with our goals, making them measurable, making them attainable, making sure they are realistic, and setting a time frame for them. Let me talk a little bit more about what that might look like. So specific, you want to be really crystal clear on what it is you want to accomplish. And you want your goal to be measurable, something that you can then say, I did it. This was, the thing I set to do. And you can check that off that you achieved your goal for that day. You want to set a goal that's maybe a length of time, like say, I'm going to knit for an hour or crochet a certain number of rows, or I'm going to make a certain number of stitches each day, or a total goal for the week. You want something that you can measure, and you want to make those goals attainable. So if you only have a half hour a day to work on your gifts, that's totally fine, but don't set a goal that you're going to knit or crochet 3,000 stitches if you have a half hour of time. Make sure that, they kind of line up together. Make sure that it fits into your life without needing a huge upheaval of the way that you already spend your time. And make it something that isn't too easy or isn't too hard. You want to be a little bit ambitious, but not in a severe amount. And you want realistic. You want it to be something that you actually think that you can do, because we don't want to set ourselves up for disappointment here, of course. And then timed. So we all have our big deadline to getting our gifts done before the holidays come around. But that big giant goal can be really, really overwhelming sometimes. And sometimes when I get overwhelmed, I just don't do the thing. I just get kind of paralyzed and decide I'm going to do something else instead, because that just seems too big. So I want you to think about the projects that are on your list that we've already made. Think about how long each item on your list will take you to make. If you're making an ear warmer, that's certainly going to take less time, or a coffee cup cozy, or, a one skein project is certainly going to take less time than, say, you wanted to knit your granddaughter a sweater or a blanket. So be realistic in how long you really think it's going to take. Break that down then into how much time you need to work on each day to get that done. One of my favorite tips for seeing your own progress is to put one of those little plastic locking or metal bulb markers, some kind of locking stitch marker on your project at the end of each day. And that will help you visually see how much you have been able to accomplish, how much you've been able to achieve each day. It really helps me a lot to see that, so that you don't have to keep counting rows or things. You'll know where you started and then you'll move that marker. Or if you have a bunch of markers, put a new marker each day and you'll say, wow, on Monday I had a bunch of time and I really knocked it out of the park. I did so much. But then Tuesday was a busy day. I was running around, running errands, taking care of different things, or work was really busy that day and you didn't get to do quite as much as you planned maybe that day. And that's okay too. But those locking stitch markers on your project, just put it around a stitch and you'll see how far you've come each day. And that will also be a motivator. If I'm making a big blanket or something like that, I like to figure out how long it takes me to do one row and then how many rows maybe are in the whole blanket, if I can figure that out with some math, and then how many rows I need to accomplish each day. Then maybe one day you'll be a little bit short, but the next day maybe you'll have more time and you'll make up for that. So you want to set your goals and you want to make this a frequent habit in your life. It doesn't have to be a daily thing, like I said. Maybe it's a weekly thing. In the holiday planner, I gave you a habit tracker. Let me stop sharing my screen and I will just show you. I made habit tracker for you guys with little yarn balls. Each day, color them in the same color, different colors. And there's one more page here that I did want to show you. And again, you can do this with anything. It does not have to be from the planner, but if you want that, that's still available. And I made a weekly progress tracker. And my favorite, there it goes, is a place to keep track of your achievements. If you finish the project that week, that's a great place. And you can make multiple copies of that if you want and look back and see how much you have achieved and celebrate that success. And we're going to keep celebrating each other's success. We're going to hold each other accountable and we're going to get through this challenge. Let's hear about your goals in the comments, and that's worth a ballot for each of you. Let me know what your goal is that you're going to set to make your creativity a habit and get your gifts